Well, ladies and gentlemen, here are the highlights from key witness Keenan Wyatt, who is the sound technician for many films, but, does work with Johnny Depp specifically. He absolutely obliterates and wrecks Team Amber here. You'll see the sort of cross-examination, you'll see Johnny Depp's team, sort of ask him questions, and he'll give his testimony on that. But then I've included everything from Amber Heard that was relevant. Her team stutter over their words. They try to get him impeached. Thankfully, the judge has none of it. So please sit back, and I hope you appreciate this coverage that I've been providing you. Give it a big thumbs up and do share it. Cheers. This is from day 5, today in fact.
And on those occasions where you interacted with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard as a couple, did you ever hear Mr. Depp yell at or raise his voice to Ms. Heard?
No.
On what occasions, if any, did he ever raise his hand to or otherwise abuse Ms. Heard?
I've never seen him be violent towards anybody.
And if we could, did there come switch gears here, did there come a time in May 2014 when you traveled with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard by private plane from Boston to Los Angeles?
Yes.
Who else was on that Boston plane flight?
It was Amber and Johnny, Stephen, Savannah, and Jerry Judge and myself.
And would you please tell the jury who is Stephen?
Stephen Duders is Johnny's assistant.
Who is Savannah?
Savannah was Amber's assistant.
And I think the jury has heard the name Jerry Judge, but if you could please explain to the jury again who Jerry Judge is.
Jerry Judge is Johnny's security.
Mr. Wyatt, why were you on that flight that night?
I don't know the exact circumstances of that flight. I didn't travel with the two of them that often. I was probably headed back to Los Angeles to see my daughter.
And before you got on the flight, how did you arrive at the airport that night?
We came in a car.
When you say you came in the car, with whom did you come in the car?
It was Jerry, Stephen, Nathan, Johnny, and myself.
And who is Nathan?
Nathan is Johnny's other assistant, Nathan Holmes.
What, if any, alcohol or drugs did you see Mr. Depp take while on the car ride to the airport?
On the car ride, I don't recall anything being taken. Johnny, I know, had called Jack during the car ride to talk to him, to tell him we were on our way, and we were listening to the World Cup that was going on at the time.
And if you could just remind the jury who Jack is?
Jack is Johnny's little boy.
When you and Mr. Depp and the security personnel arrived at the plane, who, if anyone, was there at the plane?
The plane had come from New York with Amber and Savannah already on it.
What, if anything, did you observe about Ms. Heard's behavior on that Boston flight?
Well, she was giving Johnny the cold shoulder, being quiet, and seemed pouty.
What, if any, conversation did you have with Ms. Heard on the flight?
At one point, I went up to her and said something to the effect of, he cares about you. And all of a sudden, she snapped and started yelling at me, "How dare you talk to me? Get away from me." So I went back to a seat and minded my own business.
When she said those things to you, would you describe the tone of her voice, if you remember it?
She was abruptly loud. It was a quiet plane. All of a sudden, it got very loud.
And I believe you testified you went back to your seat or you moved. What happened next?
Johnny had said something to her like, "Don't talk to my friend that way," and I just stayed in my seat and finished the rest of the flight.
And after you went back to your seat, to what extent, if any, were you able to see Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
I was able to see them very clearly.
What, if any, violence or physical altercation did you observe between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard once you'd gone back to your seat?
I've never seen Johnny be violent towards anybody.
To what extent, if any, did you observe Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard hit, kick, or throw anything at each other on the plane?
No, I don't recall that at all.
Mr. Wyatt, was Mr. Depp consuming any alcohol on that flight?
Sure, yes.
Did he seem intoxicated?
Seem intoxicated? No, he seemed like Johnny. No, he seemed normal.
Have you ever, in the course of your interactions with Ms. Heard, ever seen any marks, injuries, or bruises on her?
I have not, no.
During the decades that you have known Mr. Depp, to what extent, if any, are you aware of any woman other than Ms. Heard accusing him of abuse?
No, I'll allow it.
I've never seen Johnny abuse anybody, ever.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wyatt. That's all I have right now.
Now let's go to the Boston plane. This was in May of 2014. So you were in the car with Mr. Depp before he got on the plane.
Yes.
How long was he in that car?
How long were we in the car?
Yes.
I don't recall. 45 minutes, an hour maybe? I don't recall.
You sat on the tarmac for quite some time before getting on the plane, didn't you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall that?
No.
Okay. And is it your testimony that Mr. Depp wasn't drinking anything while he was in the car?
Not in the car, no.
Had Mr. Depp been drinking anything before he got into the car?
I don't know. I wasn't with him before.
Is it your testimony that Mr. Depp didn't take any drugs while he was in the car?
Not that I recall.
Do you know whether he took any drugs before he got in the car?
I wasn't with him before we got in the car.
All right. And I think you testified in response to the question that you didn't think that he was intoxicated or high?
No, I mean, he seemed like Johnny.
Did he take any Red Bulls that you saw?
Took any what?
Red Bulls.
Red Bulls? I don't know. There was occasion where he would drink Red Bulls. I don't know if that was the same time or not.
All right. Was he drinking vodka with any Red Bulls?
I don't know.
Was he drinking whiskey?
I don't know.
Was he taking cocaine?
I've never seen it, no.
Did you see any powders?
No.
Okay. So you get on the airplane, and it's your testimony that Ms. Heard had a bad tone of voice with Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
She had a bad tone of voice with me.
Okay. In fact, wasn't Mr. Depp saying pretty horrible things to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall that.
Like, get fucked on set, get fucked with fucking James fucking Franco? Did you hear that?
I don't recall.
Did you hear him say, at least you fucking liked it?
No.
Did you hear him say, I bet you slipped a tongue in there and you liked it?
No.
Did you hear him say, make references to Amber's pussy and asking her if her pussy was wet?
Your Honor, lack of foundation,
No.
harassment.
Did you hear any of that?
No, not that I recall.
Okay.
I'll overrule the objection. It's fine.
Thank
Next
you.
question.
Now, you shared an oxygen tank with Mr. Depp on that Boston plane, didn't you?
No.
You don't recall Mr. Depp insisting that the flight attendant give him an oxygen tank and the two of you used it?
No.
Okay. Do you recall Mr. Depp drinking champagne on the plane?
I don't know what he was drinking. I'm sure I was having wine. He could have been having champagne.
Do you remember him drinking a couple bottles of champagne?
I don't know how much.
Okay. And it's your testimony that Mr. Depp didn't kick Amber?
I didn't see anything like that.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Depp go to the back of the plane and pass out and moan loudly?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that either?
No.
Okay. Can we pull up Defendant's Exhibit 245, please? And, Your Honor, I show no objection to it in the filings. So I'm going to move the admission of it, and I'm going to ask it to be published.
No. Any objection to 245?
Yes, Your Honor, it's improper impeachment. It's not to him.
All right. If you want to approach, we'll see what your objections. Do you have your list of
Mr.
objections?
Wyatt, are you aware that Mr. Deuters apologized to Amber for Mr. Depp's conduct afterwards?
Lack of
After the
foundation,
Boston
hearsay,
Plane.
Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Where did you go? Were you with Mr. Depp
Excuse
after
me,
you
Your Honor.
left the plane?
I apologize. May we take this down?
It's just on the witness, but yes. Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you leave the plane with Mr. Depp?
I mean, I got off the plane at the same time. I'm assuming I went to my own home.
Okay, and what was Mr. Depp's state?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if he was passed out or not?
No.
When you say you don't recall, as you're sitting here today under oath, you honestly can't remember if Mr. Depp was passed out when
mean,
you
there was-
left the plane?
Asked and answered, Your Honor.
All right. I'll allow it this one time. Go ahead. You can answer, sir.
There was lots of plane flights. I mean, the only reason I remember this one was because Amber yelled at me on that flight.
Do you remember my question?
I don't recall.
All right.
I mean,
so-
I could have gotten off the plane and just left. I don't know.
And Mr. Depp could have kicked Amber on that plane, right?
Your Honor, asked and answered.
Not that I saw.
Okay, and he could have passed out.
Not that I recall.
Okay. How many times were you with Amber and Mr. Depp together?
Oh, I have no idea. No idea.
Well, what would the circumstances have been?
Invited over for something or other, or, Johnny and I may have been recording some music or something, and she was there. I don't know, at work. I don't.
Now, you had a very close personal relationship with Christy Dombrowski, didn't you?
We're friends, yes.
Yes, and you were more than friends for quite a few years, were you
Your
not?
Honor, relevance, may we approach?
It's impeachment.
All right. Let's
It's bias. It's bias.
Approach, please.
Now, you testified that the wedding that you went to, the one in Los Angeles, seemed to be a little rushed.
Yes,
How long were they engaged?
I don't know.
Could it have been a pretty substantial period of time?
I don't know.
Okay, so when you say rushed,
We didn't know a wedding was going to happen.
well, and you said you were at the offices of Ad Infinitum, is that right? Okay, when you say we didn't know any wedding was going to happen, who's we?
Several of the people at the wedding didn't know it was going to happen.
Okay, okay. Now, did you know what Amber's film schedule was?
No,
Did you know whether she was out of town, coming back in, and leaving again?
I did not know.
Did you know what Johnny's film schedule was?
I probably knew we were off.
Because you were his sound technician, right?
Yeah, we were
Okay.
starting a film
And
or ending
when-
a film or whatever, yes.
Okay, and when did you leave for Pirates 5?
I don't recall when.
Was he filming right before Pirates 5?
I don't recall.
Okay, so as soon after they did the Los Angeles wedding, they went to the Bahamas, correct?
I don't remember the time difference.
But you didn't go to that wedding.
No,
Do you know how many people did?
no.
Do you know how much organization was involved in getting that wedding together in the Bahamas?
No, I don't know.
Do you know whether, do you know, well, okay, I guess you don't know, so I guess I shouldn't ask you then. So,
Sorry, say it again.
What was your understanding of why Mr. Depp was late occasionally on the set of Pirates 5?
My understanding was he was having arguments with Amber.
And the wedding that you attended, or the ceremony in Los Angeles, that was right before Mr. Depp was to start filming Pirates 5, correct?
Yes.
Is that one of the reasons Amber wanted to be married right then?
objection, foundation, here's
All right. Foundation. I'll sustain as the foundation.
Mr. Wyatt, you've known Mr. Depp for a long time, correct?
Yes.
And you've worked with him for a long time.
Yes.
Has any woman, other than Ms. Heard, ever accused him of raising a hand to her?
Objection, Your Honor, he's already asked that beforehand, and I went into the cross with it.
Asked and answered. Sustain the
Thank you, Your Honor.
objection. All right,
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt, and thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Nothing further.
All right. Is this witness subject to recall?
Yes.